The knock came at 11:47 p.m. sharp, urgent, like gunshots against my front door. I pulled my robe tight, bare feet hitting cold hardwood. Through the peephole, Jason's face looked ghostly under the porch light, my youngest son, the one who'd barely spoken to me since Thanksgiving. "Mother, escape! Now!" His voice cut through the door like broken glass. I fumbled with the deadbolt. "Jason, what?" "No questions. Just move." He pushed past me, wild-eyed, scanning my living room like a hunted animal. "Pack light. We have maybe 10 minutes. You'd think 30 years of doing the right thing would protect you. It doesn't. It gives them cover. 10 minutes until what?" But he was already in my bedroom, throwing my cardigan at me, stuffing underwear and pills into a canvas bag. That's when I heard it, Lila's voice floating from my answering machine in the kitchen. "Sweet? Concerned? Deadly? Hi, Mom. Just wanted you to know everything will be handled tomorrow morning. The papers are all ready. Just rest, okay? Don't worry about a thing." My blood turned to ice water. Jason appeared in the doorway, his face chalk white. "You heard her." On my kitchen table sat a manila envelope I'd never seen before. Official looking. Heavy paper. The kind that changes lives. I moved closer. Bold red lettering across the top. Medical evaluation requested. Cognitive competency assessment. The floor tilted under my feet. "They're having me declared incompetent." The words came out flat. "Matter of fact, like ordering coffee." Jason nodded. "Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Dr. Martinez, he's already been paid. The conservatorship papers are drawn up. Lila gets power of attorney over the house, the business, everything. $2.7 million. 43 years of building my catering company from nothing. The brownstone in Brooklyn Heights that I'd renovated with my own hands after David died, all of it. Gone with a doctor's signature and a judge's rubber stamp. "How long have you known?" I asked. 3 weeks. They asked me to help." His voice cracked. "Said you were getting confused, forgetting things, that it was for your own good." I looked at my baby boy, 34 years old, tears streaming down his face, and something cold and sharp crystallized in my chest. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. Didn't beg. I just smiled. "Get my good coat," I said quietly, "the wool one." As Jason grabbed my things, I slipped the medical evaluation papers into my purse. Evidence, ammunition. The car engine turned over in my driveway. Through the window, I could see neighbors' houses dark and peaceful, unaware that a family was tearing itself apart 3 doors down. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't find you until we figure this out." I settled back into the passenger seat, manila envelope clutched in my lap like a weapon. That was the moment I knew justice wouldn't come from the courts. It would come from my own hands. The motel room smelled like stale cigarettes and broken dreams. Jason had found us a place on Route 9, the kind where they don't ask questions and take cash. I sat on the edge of the bed, that manila envelope spread open like a medical examiner's report. My life, dissected in legal terms. Petitioner requests immediate guardianship of Nora Catherine Walsh, age 67, due to demonstrated cognitive decline and financial mismanagement. The words blurred. Not from tears, I was beyond tears now, from pure, crystalline rage. I closed my eyes and let the memories wash over me like cold water. The construction site on Delancey Street, 1987. My hands raw from carrying lunch pails to David and his crew, because we couldn't afford the food truck prices. The metallic taste of my own blood when I bit my lip to keep from crying, watching other wives drive away in clean cars while I walked home in work boots. I worked until my knuckles bled so my children wouldn't have to, I whispered to the peeling wallpaper. I fixed roofs, closed deals, forgave small cruelties. The wedding photo tucked in my purse seemed to mock me now. David and I, 23 and stupid with hope, standing outside St. Patrick's Cathedral. His calloused hand over mine on the cake knife. We'd honeymoon at Coney Island because it was all we could afford. I believed love would be enough. God, how young we were. After David's heart attack, the late nights balancing books by lamplight, Lila, 16 and angry, slamming doors because I couldn't buy her the designer jeans all her friends wore. Vanessa, my middle child, quiet but hungry, always watching, always calculating what she could get. And Jason, my baby, who'd crawl into my lap while I worked, his small fingers tracing the numbers in my ledgers. "Mama, why do you work so much?" "So you can have everything I never did, sweetheart." Every Christmas morning, watching their faces light up over gifts I'd worked double shifts to afford. Every graduation, every wedding, every milestone I was there, checkbook open, heart fuller than my bank account. The catering business grew. First, the church basement kitchen, then the storefront on Atlantic Avenue, finally the 3-location empire that made us millionaires. Each dollar earned through 16-hour days and meals skipped to pay employee wages first. I kept every birthday card they'd ever given me, every crayon drawing, every world's best mom mug from elementary school art class. She demonstrates confusion regarding financial matters and appears unable to manage her affairs. Lila's signature sprawled across the bottom of the petition. My daughter's handwriting, requesting I be declared incompetent. Below it, Vanessa's careful cursive, both of them swearing under oath that their mother, the woman who'd built an empire with bloody knuckles, couldn't handle money. The woman who'd paid for Lila's MBA at Columbia. The woman who'd covered Vanessa's gambling debts 3 times without asking questions. The woman who'd co-signed Jason's student loans when no bank would touch him. My phone buzzed. A text from Lila. "Don't come tomorrow morning, Mom. We'll sort everything out. Just rest." Rest. Like I was already dead to them. I looked at Jason, slumped in the vinyl chair by the window, staring at traffic on Route 9. My baby boy, the only one who'd chosen truth over money. "How long?" I asked quietly. "How long what? How long have they been planning this?" His silence was answer enough. I folded the papers carefully, precisely, like I was preparing ammunition for war, because that's exactly what this was. My own daughters had declared war on the woman who'd given them everything. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd forgotten who taught them how to fight. Jason's apartment in Queens felt like a safe house. 3rd floor walk-up, neighbors who minded their own business, thick walls that muffled secrets. I sat at his kitchen table, hands still trembling as I dialed Maya Rodriguez, my lawyer for 20 years. "Nora? It's 6 in the morning. What's wrong?" "Maya, I need you to remember something. 3 years ago, Lila brought me papers to sign. She called it a custodial amendment for the business accounts, said it was routine paperwork." Silence. Then Maya's sharp intake of breath. "Jesus, Nora. That wasn't routine. That was a limited power of attorney clause. If you were ever declared mentally incompetent, it would give her immediate access to transfer business assets." The coffee in my stomach turned to acid. How much access? Everything. The catering contracts, the real estate holdings, the business accounts. She could liquidate it all within 48 hours of a judge's signature. My daughters hadn't just planned this recently. They'd been setting the trap for 3 years. Jason pulled his laptop across the table, fingers flying over the keyboard. "Mom, you need to see this. I've been monitoring Vanessa's email since she asked me to help with their plan." The screen filled with messages dated 2 weeks ago. Subject line, Accelerated Transfer Protocol. From Vanessa, Walsh, nits@gmail, tom. 2, Elliot.Harrison.s, @harrisonlaw.com. Elliot, push the medical evaluation to this Friday if possible. We need the transfer completed before the quarterly audit. The property deed needs to be moved to the LLC immediately after the hearing. Timeline is critical. My heart hammered against my ribs. What LLC? Jason clicked to another email. Bank statements attached. Chase business account, Brooklyn Catering Holdings LLC. Vanessa listed as sole signatory. $347,000 transferred from my business account last month. $89,000 the month before. $156,000 in September. Nearly $600,000, moved in carefully calculated amounts to avoid triggering bank fraud alerts. My own money, stolen piece by piece while I trusted them completely. "There's more," Jason whispered, scrolling down to the most recent exchange. From lila.walsh@columbia.edu. To Vanessa. Walsh, nits@gmail, tom. V. Mom's getting suspicious about the missing payments. We need to accelerate everything. Once she's declared incompetent, we can sell the Brooklyn Heights property and put her in Shady Oaks. The staff there won't let her make phone calls or see visitors without family approval. Game over. From Vanessa, Walsh, nits@gmail, Tom. 2. Lila.walsh@columbia.edu. Perfect. Elliot says the medical evaluation is a formality. Dr. Martinez owes him favors. Once we have guardianship, we control everything. The old lady built a nice little empire, but she's too stupid to realize we're the ones who deserve it. The words hit me like physical blows. The old lady, too stupid. 43 years of building a business they planned to steal, a mother they planned to warehouse like discarded furniture. I stood up so fast the chair toppled backward. My vision blurred with rage, but my hands were steady now, crystal clear. How much total? I asked Jason. He pulled up a spreadsheet. From what I can trace, they've moved $1.2 million so far. But Mom, the Brooklyn Heights brownstone is worth $2.8 million. If they get guardianship, they get everything. I finished the sentence, my voice flat as winter concrete. My phone buzzed with a voicemail. Elliot Harrison's oily voice filled the kitchen. Nora, I've spoken with the judge's clerk. We can expedite your competency hearing to this Tuesday at 10 a.m. The court appreciates family members who act quickly to protect their loved ones' interests. Don't worry about appearing yourself. Lila and Vanessa will handle all the details. Tuesday, 4 days to strip away everything I'd built. I looked at Jason, at the laptop screen full of evidence, at the walls of his small apartment that had become my war room. Get me the number for that forensic accountant you mentioned, I said quietly. And Maya's private investigator contact. Mom, what are you thinking? I smiled, and it felt like sharpening a blade. I'm thinking they forgot something important about your mother. I folded the bank statements carefully, like evidence for trial. I didn't build a multi-million-dollar business by being stupid. I built it by being patient and ruthless when necessary. The game had changed, but they were about to discover they'd been playing with the wrong opponent. Monday morning, 7 a.m. I sat in my car outside Chase Manhattan, engine off, hands steady on the steering wheel. The bank wouldn't open for 2 hours. I didn't care. Waiting was part of the plan now. I learned how to build things with my hands, brick by brick, contract by contract, dream by dream. Now I would dismantle their scheme with paper and patience. Every document they'd forged, every transfer they'd hidden, every lie they'd told. My phone buzzed. Maya's text. Emergency injunction filed. Accounts frozen as of 9 a.m. I smiled for the first time in 3 days. The safety deposit box key felt cold in my palm as I walked through the marble lobby at exactly 9-1. Box 847. 27 years of keeping the original deeds, the real contracts, the backup copies they never knew existed. My hands trembled slightly as I lifted out the Brooklyn Heights property deed. Original signatures, David's and mine, witnessed and notarized in 1996. No mention of any LLC. No Vanessa as signatory. The bank manager, Mrs. Chen, appeared beside me. Mrs. Walsh, I have instructions to provide you with copies of all account activity for the past 6 months. The printouts were thick as a phone book, every fraudulent transfer highlighted in yellow, $592,847 total, moved in careful increments to avoid detection. Amateur hour. They'd thought I was too old to understand electronic banking. I photographed every page with Jason's phone, evidence, ammunition. Back at Jason's apartment, I spread the documents across his dining table like a general planning war. The forensic accountant Maya recommended, Robert Kim, was already there with his laptop open. Mrs. Walsh, this is textbook elder financial abuse, he said, scanning the bank statements. The pattern is clear. They established the LLC 18 months ago, began small transfers to test the waters, then accelerated once they felt safe. How much can we recover? All of it, plus penalties and interest, but we need more than just the financial evidence. Jason looked up from his computer. I found something. Elliot Harrison, their lawyer? He's got a pending malpractice suit. Client claims he forged signatures on a power of attorney document last year. Perfect. I poured coffee with hands that no longer shook. What else? Detective Ramirez called back. She's opening a preliminary investigation into the fraud allegations. Wants to meet with you tomorrow. I nodded, making notes in my careful handwriting. Every step documented. every ally catalogued. The phone rang. Court clerk, Eastern District. Mrs. Walsh? Regarding your competency hearing scheduled for tomorrow, the court has received your attorney's injunction, but we need something more substantial to contradict the medical evaluation request. What kind of something? An independent psychological assessment, preferably from a court-approved psychiatrist who can testify that you show no signs of cognitive decline. I looked at the wall calendar. Tuesday, 10 a.m., 18 hours. Can we get an emergency evaluation? If you can find someone willing to see you today and file their report by 8 a.m. tomorrow. I hung up and called Maya. I need the best forensic psychiatrist in New York. Money's no object. Dr. Patricia Huang. She's expensive, but she's testified in hundreds of competency cases. I'll call her now. While Maya worked her contacts, I sat at Jason's kitchen table, staring at 43 years of financial records spread like evidence before a jury. Every receipt told a story. Every contract proved competence. Every business decision demonstrated the sharp mind they claimed was failing. The irony was perfect. They'd accused me of being unable to manage money while systematically stealing from accounts I'd built from nothing. My phone buzzed. Dr. Huang could see me at 6 p.m. 3 hours of cognitive testing, psychological evaluation, memory assessment. Mom, Jason said quietly. What if she finds something? What if there really is some decline you haven't noticed? I looked at my son, still worried, still protective, still choosing truth over easy money. Then I'll face it honestly, I said. But I built a multi-million-dollar empire last year, not last decade. I negotiated 3 major contracts in the past 6 months. I balanced books, managed payroll, and caught accounting errors my own CPA missed. I stood, gathering the documents with precise movements. They thought I was a chess piece in their game. I placed the deeds in my briefcase, locked it with a sharp click, but they forgot something crucial. I walked to the window, looking out at the Queen's skyline, calculating the final moves. This whole chessboard was built by me. Tomorrow, they'd discover what happens when you underestimate a woman who spent 43 years turning nothing into everything. And this time I wouldn't be playing defense. Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. sharp. Courtroom 3B, Eastern District Courthouse. I wore my navy wool coat, the one David bought me for our 25th anniversary. Conservative, respectable. The kind of coat a competent woman wears to reclaim her life. Lila and Vanessa sat 3 rows ahead, whispering with Elliot Harrison. Designer suits, confident postures, the smugness of people who thought they'd already won. They hadn't bothered to look back when I entered. Why would they? In their minds, I was already defeated. All rise. The Honorable Judge Patricia Morrison presiding. Elliot stood first, smoothing his expensive tie. Your Honor, this is a straightforward case of an elderly woman who can no longer manage her substantial financial affairs. The petitioners, her loving daughters, seek only to protect their mother from further harm. He painted his picture with practiced ease. Confused old lady, missed payments, erratic behavior. Family members stepping in reluctantly to save her from herself. Mrs. Walsh has demonstrated clear signs of cognitive decline, he continued. She's accused her own daughters of financial misconduct, showing the paranoid thinking typical of early dementia. Lila nodded sadly, playing her part perfectly. Vanessa dabbed her eyes with a tissue. Oscar-worthy performances, both of them. Judge Morrison looked over her glasses at me. Mrs. Walsh. How do you respond to these allegations? I stood slowly, letting the silence build. Your Honor, I've brought some documentation that might interest the court. Maya stepped forward with a thick manila folder. Dr. Patricia Huang's complete psychological evaluation, conducted yesterday evening. Mrs. Walsh scored in the superior range on all cognitive assessments. Elliot's confident smile flickered. Your Honor, that's clearly. I'm not finished. My voice cut through his protest like steel through silk. Robert Kim, the forensic accountant, approached the bench. Your Honor, I've completed a full audit of Mrs. Walsh's financial accounts. The evidence shows systematic fraud. He placed the bank statements on the evidence table. Every forged signature, every unauthorized transfer, every digital timestamp that proved the theft. The transfers in question were initiated using a power of attorney document that contains a critical flaw. The digital signature was created 18 months after the alleged signing date. Impossible unless someone backdated the document. Vanessa's face went chalk white. Furthermore, Robert continued, the LLC receiving these funds was established using forged incorporation papers. Mrs. Walsh's signature appears on documents she never saw, never signed, never authorized. Judge Morrison examined the evidence. The courtroom was dead silent except for the rustle of papers. Detective Ramirez from the NYPD Financial Crimes Unit, Maya announced. The detective took the stand, calm and professional. Your Honor, we've been investigating allegations of elder financial abuse. During our inquiry, we obtained legal recordings of conversations between the defendants discussing their plan to have Mrs. Walsh declared incompetent. She played the audio. Vanessa's voice clear as daylight. Once we have guardianship, we control everything. The old lady built a nice little empire, but she's too stupid to realize we're the ones who deserve it. The words hung in the air like poison. I watched my daughters' faces crumble. Lila's confident mask slipped, revealing raw panic underneath. Vanessa gripped the table, knuckles white, breath coming in short gasps. Elliot tried to object, but Judge Morrison silenced him with a look that could freeze hell. Mrs. Walsh, the judge said quietly, do you have anything to add? I stood, looking directly at Lila and Vanessa. Two women I'd raised, loved, sacrificed everything for. Two strangers who'd tried to steal my life. For 25 years after their father died, I believed they loved me the way I loved them. My voice was steady, final. Now I know the difference between real love and performance art. Judge Morrison's gavel came down like thunder. Guardianship petition dismissed. Emergency freeze on all assets pending criminal investigation. Mr. Harrison, your clients are advised to retain separate counsel. The courtroom erupted. Reporters scribbling notes. Spectators murmuring. Lila sobbing into her hands. I walked toward the exit, past my daughters, past their collapsed dreams of easy money. As I reached the door, I found a small envelope on the bench. Inside, a photo of David with Lila and Vanessa in front of our old house, all three smiling. A sticky note attached. You won't stop this. I studied the photo for a long moment, then slipped it into my purse. They still didn't understand. I wasn't trying to stop anything. I was just getting started. The dominoes fell faster than I'd expected. Wednesday morning, Maya called with the first casualty. The State Bar Association opened an inquiry into Elliot Harrison. 3 more former clients came forward after yesterday's court proceedings. Seems your daughters weren't his only victims. By Thursday, Chase Manhattan had reversed every fraudulent transfer, $592,847 back in my accounts, plus penalty interest. The Brooklyn Catering Holdings LLC, Vanessa's paper shell company, was dissolved by court order. Friday brought social consequences that money couldn't fix. I watched from my car as Lila left the Columbia faculty building, head down, designer bag clutched tight. 3 colleagues she'd lunched with for years walked past without acknowledgement. Word travels fast in academic circles. Financial fraud allegations, even unproven ones, tend to end careers in institutions that value ethical conduct. Vanessa's fall was swifter, more brutal. The co-op board of her Upper East Side building called an emergency meeting. Residents who'd trusted her to manage their building fund discovered she'd been skimming from those accounts too. 23 families, betrayed by a neighbor they'd welcomed into their homes. I felt no satisfaction watching her pack boxes into a rental truck at 6 a.m., hoping to avoid the photographers who'd been camping outside since the story broke. Just hollow recognition that actions have consequences, even for your own children. The house on Joralemon Street in Brooklyn Heights sat unchanged in afternoon sunlight. My house. Still mine, despite everything they'd tried to steal. I climbed the front steps, the ones David had rebuilt with his own hands in 1997, and sat on the stoop where I'd watched my children play hopscotch 30 years ago. The brownstone felt solid beneath me. 4 stories of honest work, paid for with calloused hands and 16-hour days. They'd tried to reduce it to a number on a balance sheet, but buildings hold more than money. They hold memories, sacrifices, dreams that can't be stolen or forged. My phone buzzed. Jason's text. Mom, Detective Ramirez called. DA wants to know if you're pressing charges. Full prosecution could mean 3 to 5 years each. I stared at the message for a long time. 3 to 5 years. Justice served cold and measured by a system designed to punish financial crimes. Lila and Vanessa in orange jumpsuits, learning too late that stealing from family carries the same penalties as stealing from strangers. Part of me wanted that justice. The part that remembered working double shifts to pay for Lila's MBA, only to hear her call me too stupid to realize my own worth. The part that recalled every Christmas morning, every graduation, every moment I'd chosen their happiness over my own comfort. But the larger part, the part that had spent 67 years building rather than destroying, felt only exhaustion. I called Jason back. Tell Detective Ramirez I want restitution, not revenge. Full financial recovery, probation, community service, but I won't send my daughters to prison. Mom, are you sure, after everything they did? I looked at the photo they'd left in the courtroom. David's smile, young and hopeful. Lila and Vanessa as children, gap-toothed and innocent, before money became more important than love. I'm sure. They've lost enough already. The afternoon light slanted across Gerolman Street, painting the brownstone's facade gold. Neighbors walked dogs, children rode bikes. Life continued its normal rhythm while my family collapsed in slow motion. I'd won everything I'd fought to protect. The business, the house, the financial security I'd spent 43 years building. But victory felt smaller than I'd expected, tinged with grief for daughters who'd chosen greed over gratitude. Inside my house, safe and secure, I made coffee in the kitchen where David had proposed 44 years ago. The same kitchen where I'd balanced books by lamplight, raised children who thought love could be measured in dollar signs. I sat at my dining room table, surrounded by the life I'd reclaimed, and understood something fundamental about justice. It isn't about punishment or revenge. It's about protecting what matters while refusing to let betrayal destroy your capacity for love. I'd believed in family loyalty above all else. Now I believed in something stronger, truth, and the quiet dignity of choosing mercy over vengeance, even when mercy isn't deserved. The coffee was perfect. The house was mine. And tomorrow, I'd begin rebuilding relationships worth keeping. 6 months later, the morning light streamed through the windows of my Brooklyn Heights brownstone like a benediction. I sat at my dining room table with Maya and Jason, sharing coffee and the comfortable silence of people who'd survived a war together. The legal papers were finally signed, sealed, filed away in folders that would gather dust in some courthouse basement. Justice, it turned out, was quieter than I'd expected. How does it feel? Maya asked, stirring cream into her cup. I considered the question, looking around the room where I'd fought for my life without throwing a single punch. I thought revenge would feel like fire, I said finally. It was quieter, like putting a book back on its proper shelf. The restitution agreements were complete. Every stolen dollar returned with interest. Lila and Vanessa had signed mediation papers, agreeing to supervised financial counseling and 2 years of probation. Elliot Harrison faced a state bar disciplinary hearing that would likely end his career. No one was going to prison, but everyone would carry scars. I walked to the mantelpiece and carefully placed David's wedding photo back in its spot of honor. 44 years of marriage, reduced to silver frame and faded colors, but the love in our young faces still shone through the glass. In the drawer below, I'd kept the threatening photo they'd left at the courthouse. Not as a weapon, but as a reminder. Evil often wears familiar faces and speaks in voices you've loved since birth. Jason finished his coffee and stood to leave for work. My youngest son, the only one who'd chosen truth over easy money. Mom, any regrets about not pressing charges? I touched the wedding photo's frame. Every choice has consequences, sweetheart. They chose greed over gratitude. I chose mercy over vengeance. We'll all live with what we decided. After they left, I sat alone in the house I'd nearly lost, understanding something fundamental about family and justice. Blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. Money doesn't create love. And sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones you've sacrificed everything to protect. But here's what I learned in that Queen's motel room, staring at legal papers that would have stolen my life. Never underestimate someone who has given you everything. Greed can blind your eyes, but justice never sleeps. And there are losses that cannot be recovered, but the truth always brings freedom. The mailman's footsteps on my front stoop interrupted my thoughts. bills, catalogs, the usual Tuesday delivery. And one unmarked envelope, cream-colored paper, expensive weight. Inside, a single sentence in block letters. You won today, but power seduces. No signature, no return address. I held the note up to the window light, studying the careful handwriting. Someone was watching. Someone was waiting. Someone understood that winning a battle doesn't end a war. I looked at my reflection in the hallway mirror. 67 years old, gray-haired, ordinary. The woman who'd built an empire and defended it against her own children. The woman who'd chosen mercy when vengeance would have been easier. The woman who now controlled millions of dollars and the power that came with them. I folded the note carefully and placed it in the drawer with the threatening photo. 2 warnings from 2 different sources, both understanding that justice and power lived closer together than most people realized. Outside, Brooklyn Heights hummed with its usual morning rhythm. Dog walkers, commuters, the eternal dance of city life continuing regardless of individual tragedies and triumphs. I made fresh coffee and sat back down at my dining room table, surrounded by the life I'd reclaimed through patience, evidence, and careful strategy. Justice had come, but what you do with it, that's the next story. I smiled at my reflection in the window, feeling the weight of hard-won wisdom and the quiet satisfaction of battles fought and won. Family isn't about shared blood or shared names. It's about shared honesty, shared gratitude, and the courage to choose truth even when truth is painful. I believed in love once. Now I believe in something stronger. I believe in justice, and the strength to handle it wisely.